Hi guys, my name is Sean. I'm a houseplant enthusiast from Jakarta, Indonesia. In today's video, we're going to be multiplying some Scindapsus here. I do have a full video on how to care for it and the diversity of it, although I've recently discovered even more species in my nursery tours, so be sure not to miss out on those really cool air-right plant tours. But here we have the mother plant of the Scindapsus silver lady. I've had this for about a year now, and I've built up some retail stock over there from just the one plant, but this one's ready to be multiplied some more, and I actually went through the process of turning this into a bushy plant because when I bought this was definitely only 2 leaves. The prices have actually fallen very dramatically for these, and I think because the plant prices are falling so much, the next game would be to grow them up big, and that is where the sellers have to compete to grow them out to be bushy and beautiful, because when you sell just single vines, they are not worth that much anymore these days. So yeah, again, I'm going to really quickly recap the care just in case you missed that old video. Bright and direct light. If you give them medium to low light, they will give you small leaves. They will have long internodes. It's just not a sexy look. Give it a top light from the top because it will do really well. It'll have a nice, beautiful, bushy top here, which will encourage nicer leaves even down below. And they will want to be dried out completely between watering, but not for too long. Leaves curling is a sign of under or over watering, but only you know which one it is. So the most common way people kill these is with low light because they put them on shelves. And when you have shelves, you have things covering their top, and you have a side of the wall that is blocking light. It's only getting very little light when you have it on the shelf. Just imagine when you have it against the wall, you're dividing the light in half pretty much. And that's the most common way to kill it, low light and a combination of too much water. It's very common for them to lose a little bit of leaf here. This is the older leaf that turn yellow. But if you have many leaves that turn yellow at once, it's a sign of overwater. This is turning yellow too, but this is the older leaf, so I'm not really that worried about it. Fertilize is the same with your other house plants. I do give this my general purpose potting mix, even though this is an airite and it's slightly epiphytic, you could argue that, but they have such a robust root system which can grow really big, and if you want a bushy plant like this, we need to give the roots a lot of space to grow into. So the general potting mix really served them well in this case. No past pressures on these at all. This is an easy plant to care for. And I know some of you guys keep telling me that this is one of your more difficult plants. It's not. I think it's the combination of light and watering that you need to balance. They don't require a lot of humidity as well. I've grown these indoors in air conditioning, and I've grown outdoors. I don't notice any difference in how fast they grow actually. So I'm going to try to propagate this different ways today. I do have some plastic containers that I'm upcycling, so I'm going to be experimenting with some new ways to propagate these. But for the conventional way of growing this into a bushy plant, I'm going to also show you that. So here are the Scindapsus here that are grown in this exact position for the last 5 months or so. This is the silver lady. It's put out many vines. We did propagate many out of this, and some of the propagates are actually over there and some are in the store. So one of the easiest way to propagate this is to just let it trail into the next pot over, let it root. Just circle the vine around. Maybe you have to pin down the aerial roots in there, such as in this case. Hang on, let me find it. This one, we did pin down the Scindapsus here down in the pot, although I haven't checked on it for so long. I don't know if it did root. I guess, yeah, that's probably rooted in there. The main pot of this is actually this one right here. So it's rooted into the next pot over, and it's now cascading down. So I'm going to be propagating this as well. This is silvery and we're going to check on that in a bit. And the next one that we're going to do is, oh my god, this is overwater, this biliatai. I keep killing it and I keep bringing it back to life. I don't know what to do with it. It just hates water so much. Okay. I digress. So this is another one. This is that Scindapsus tricolor, really beautiful. And as you can see, it's put out a runner here. We were going to be propagating this runner, by the way, but I placed it in here. So now it's rooted in here. So I'm going to cut this off right here, right after this node, and let this plant take off from there. Look at how long this vine is. I really love how beautiful this leaf is. Look at that. Yeah, so in this video, I guess the main point is to show you how I can propagate this into a massive vine. But don't look at this as an example. This is just the mother plant that I got. And yeah, I'm gonna be turning them into bushy plants next that are for retail size. Alright, sorry about a bit of mess, but here in Indonesia, when you buy Scindapsus, you're usually buying them as a tiny sad plant, and it is up to the customer to grow them out into a bushy plant. Of course, if you live in the US or Europe, you can easily find huge hanging baskets of these, but we don't really find these here in Indonesia. So You know, a lot of you guys, if you're trying to rescue your Scindapsus, also the best way to rescue them is by propagation, which is what we're going to do. I guess we're going to start with this one here. This is the one that's right in front of me. This is the tricolor. It's put out a long vine here. And I still haven't figured out which method I'm going to use for each of these. But I have an eggshell plastic over here that I'm going to fill with a little bit of reused general purpose potting mix. This is probably used by another plant before. Something may have died in it previously, but I'm not that worried because again, these guys are easy to propagate. And of course I'm being cocky now because I don't know, maybe I might jinx myself. I may kill these by accident. So I have this setup happening, and I do want to start off on the right foot with these by giving it a little bit of a this is my pesticide. This is Philodendron. I don't really recommend this, but I've got too many plants, so I definitely have to resort to this. I've been having a lot of fungus gnat issues on my indoor growing area where a lot of plants are rehabbing. This is where I'm going to be growing this out. By the way, I'm going to be growing, oh, you're not in frame, are you? Let me move this back further. But yeah, I've been having fungus gnat issues, and this helps with that. So that's out of the way. And then I'm going to give it a bit of slow release fertilizer as well. I'm going to do that with all the other setups too, by the way. I'm going to do that. They technically don't need nutrients during the propagation process, but this is again slow release, so it's going to release nutrients over the course of the next few months. So I'm not that worried about over fertilizing. I just want to use one pellet per little compartment here. Now let's get started with the fun part, with the propagation. Snip. This is the top cutting here. I may actually do this in water usually for top cutting because it's trying to put out a new leaf. It usually needs a lot of water. So I'm going to propagate this in water. And the next one here, let's see. Look at how beautiful this tricolor is. Amazing. So the anatomy, in case you missed my other videos, is that there's going to be an aerial root with each node. This is a node here where this line is. Aerial root, usually there's a leaf. And then there has to be a growing eye somewhere here where it's going to put out a new vine from here. That's what we're counting on when we are propagating. So I'm going to just insert this gently here per leaf. I'm not in frame, am I? Hang on, let me move everything back and let me lower the camera because you're too high up. Yeah, look at how nice it looks here. It looks so comfortable. Hello, little guy. And I may close this later to seal in a bit of humidity. I may close this, but I don't want this to be overwatered, so I need to be really, really careful with this propagation method. Now, as for these are wet sticks because they put out runners. They're going to be propagated as well. Let me try to peel this off, the sheath off. Some say that you shouldn't peel the sheath off because it may provide some nutrient for the vine that's coming out of it. But I'm going to put this facing down with the aerial root facing down onto the potting mix here. Just gently lay them there. Wet sticks have actually very low chance of success, but when they do sprout, they are the cutest because the leaves are so tiny usually. And where possible, you want the leaf not to touch the potting mix. So I'm going to lean this a little bit against the little point here in the egg tray. Because when the leaves get wet, you will turn it to mush. You may rot it. And actually, if you were smart and you had time, not like I did, but it's nice to fertilize these before you propagate them because the plant will take in extra moisture and nutrients into the leaves here, and then there will be a higher chance of success for propagation. I've actually done this before with my Dischidias, but I did leave them out in the rain, so they did die off. So I've learned since then to keep an eye out for this and to make sure that the moisture is just nice, and you really want to keep it just humid. You don't want to keep it soggy wet. You don't want this sitting in water at all. But you don't want it to dry out completely either. It is a game of balance. And when you close the vessel, it's going to retain a bit of humidity. So yeah, keep that all in mind. And they do need some light. When they're propagating, make sure you give them some light. All right, so I completely gave it a haircut. It's down to, a small number of leaves. So what I'm going to do is, Actually, this has been living in the rain. You get watered every day. This is actually a little bit too much water for it. I'm gonna keep it indoors. So it needs a lot less water than before because it's lost all its foliage. Look at how beautiful this setup is. How cute is this? Yeah, so it needs less water than before, and then when you cut it, it actually will be bush out a bit. So this is how you can get a bushier Scindapsus, is that when you give them such a hard prune, you back off with watering, there's a few nodes back here, and if you're lucky, it will put out multiple vines from down below. So it's going to give you multiple vines from just these two vines that I have currently. Now here's another method of growing them into a bushy plant, which is what is probably done more commercially out there. I'm going to cut single nodes of these, and then I have this general potting mix. I don't compact this, I want to keep it light and fluffy. Ooh, there's an earthworm in here. Ooh, and I accidentally touched that. That's gross. And I left some pesticide and slow release fertilizer in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start inserting the leaves down below. Now technically, if these have longer petioles, I would have, planted it only halfway down the soil. Like, I only use this amount of soil because you're less likely to overwater it. You're going to need less pesticide and fertilizer. And then as the plant grew new leaves, you can then add more soil into it. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but because these guys have such short petioles, look at how short this is. I'm going to have to plant this pretty high up on the pot. And the key here is to have many cuttings in here. And in my experience, Scindapsus here, 100%. It's almost 100%. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't really seen many of these cuttings die off, so I don't want to get cocky, but they're very easy to propagate this way. And the way that you would care for this, meanwhile, is to give it pretty good light. Don't put it in the dark. Humidity isn't a big factor in my experience, although you don't want to put it in low humidity. And then the thing that you need to watch out for is the watering. You need to make sure that this is dried out pretty much completely between watering. See, I've stuck so many in one pot here, and then they do take a long time. So this video may, the next update may take a long time. Scindapsus are very slow to propagate, but then they're very high success rate. And when they have taken off, like this plant here, when they have, put out a lot of leaves, that have established roots. Look at this root here, it's even come out of the pot. When it's done that, it's a very rigorous grower after that. So that's one. I may not even sell these when it's grown. I want to keep a lot of these mother plants. They're quite enjoyable to have around. And hopefully someday the Indonesian market will grow this out in a commercial scale where everyone can enjoy big, massive pots like these. And of course, if you want to cheap out the way that I have, because in the beginning of my collection, I only bought single leaf cuttings of these Scindapsus because they're so expensive, you guys. It does take a while. This mother plant here, I think, is about over a year old. So I can only enjoy, oh my god, I can only enjoy the beauty of this after 1 year, which is a long way to enjoy a plant. I'm going to put the pesticide a little bit deep in the potting mix because I don't want it to touch the leaf of the plant. And then some slow release fertilizer in here as well. All right. And I'm ready for the next pot. This is super fun. I could do this all day, seriously. I actually don't like doing business. I don't like doing retail in my store. Hate dealing with people, with sales numbers. When you have these single node wet stick propagations, I go ahead and just stick them on top. Lay them, there's some more here. I'm just gonna lay them on top. There's a maybe 50% chance that they will turn into little plants, little leaves. So I'm at this point in my career where I'm trying to figure out what makes me happy, and I really love propagating so much, and I really am not enjoying the store, the business side of things, the customer service, and all that stuff. And of course, when these have grown out a little bit more, they're gonna get root bound pretty fast. I'm gonna have to transfer it to maybe a pot that's one size bigger than this. So when you cut it, you do want to leave a few nodes because you want the few nodes to branch out. This one's got a little bit of excess stem. I'm just gonna cut it off. I think I'm good. I don't see any more leaves that I can cut off. Do I? Yeah, look at this. It's gonna get so much bushier even after I cut it. That's amazing. And when you see these roots, go ahead and tuck them back into the pot. Tuck it back in. It's gonna root like this one here. I'm gonna take it off and then tuck it back in. The more roots you have, the more robust this plant is going to be. So yeah, there, I've got that mother plant, I've got these. Yeah, so happy, I love doing this. I'm gonna give the mother plant a little bit of nutrient boost. It's been a while since I have fertilized it. Oh yeah, and these guys, they can get root mealybugs, which is why I do use a bit of pesticide as a preventative. It is not likely, but sometimes they do. All right, last but not least, we've got this. And as we mentioned earlier, this is actually one mother plant here that I trailed over to this other pot. So I'm gonna cut it first to sever the ties. And I let this root into the second pot. This is actually a good way to propagate them. It's kind of a way of air layering it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm gonna separate these. Yeah, that came from the second pot. Look at this, it's already rooted really well. This will propagate a lot faster. Let me check on the roots down here. Yeah, this is not the right pot for it. I was just using it because of the legs here. But I'm gonna start moving it into a different pot. Look at all these roots. Oh my God, it's rooted really well in there. So I'm gonna cut this the same way as I did before, single node. But this one has already got roots, so it's gonna take off, I would say, twice faster than these guys that are not rooted yet. And when you have the Scindapsus root into the next pot over, they're also gonna get more nutrients, more moisture. So I actually recommend this, although they can take up a bit of space. And one problem is when you have two pots conjoined together and you yank one of them, you're trying to, I don't know, do something with it. The other one will come off and everything will just fall on the floor. It's happened more than 20 times probably in my lifetime. So it happens more often than you think, and it's disastrous when that happens. Or sometimes when other people care for your plants, because you know, we have got a gardener now, so we've got some terracotta pot that broke and stuff. So not a very good experience with that. Oh, and when you have a lot of these roots, you don't want to fill it up with potting mix just yet, because you want to bury these roots. So after you've placed these plants, you can go ahead and bury them. A little bit different from the process we did before. And of course, you don't want to bury these too deep in the potting mix, because you may overwater it easily and the new growth point may rot as well. It needs to find, you know, its way up. So try to use a bit of common sense. This is the silvery N, in case I forgot to mention. Very expensive in the beginning, but they're now very, very affordable here in Indonesia. So I'm generating a lot of these mother plants, and it's gonna take a lot of time before I can have, you know, we can enjoy selling these as bushy plants. All right, so I've chopped the mother plant off, and there's this vine here with many nodes. I don't know if you can see that well from so far away, but what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pin it back down into the potting mix so the aerial roots can grow into the potting mix. And the more roots you have and the more nutrients you have in there, the bigger the leaves are gonna get. Some of them can get enormous leaves like this here, if you give it more, basically more root in there. So yeah, that's gonna turn into a bushy plant someday. I may in fact stick one of the top cuttings here, maybe this one, back in here, right in the middle of the pot here. And just now I did fluff the potting mix a bit because it was very compacted by the rain. So the way I do that is I just take this bonsai wire and I just kind of wiggled it in there, creating air pockets in there. So it'll be much happier. And I may actually bring this indoor as well, because I don't want this to be overwatered. It doesn't need as much water as before. I would say it needs only a third of the water it did before, because so many leaves are gone. I'm gonna finish propagating these and I'll show you the aftermath. Phew, that took a long time, but I'm done. So I've got this Scindapsus tricolor that I'm growing in here. Wish me luck on this. This is what I'm worried about actually. Can't neglect it. I know that I have too many responsibilities now, but I really need to, or at least I need to train my gardener to take care of this well. This is the silver lady, mother plant, 2 babies, and this is the silvery N, the parent plant, and there's 4 babies here. And you know what, I just decided last minute that I'm actually going to grow these in a propagation box. I have a video on that to show you how it works, and my discovery is that they don't really benefit that much. Maybe it did help speed up the growth by about 5 to 10%. But I have that box, it's lying around, not doing anything, and I've got some fungus gnat issues that I'm dealing with, so I might as well just seal them in that box and kind of forget about them. Because when you're in that box, you really need to water them almost never. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. Ooh, but you absolutely don't need to put them in propagation boxes because I've propagated hundreds of these right out in the open and they are just fine. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna propagate 2 outside the box this time and 2 in the box, just to show you what it looks like. Bye. Welcome to a 6 weeks update. This is the parent plant of the silver lady. It's looking very nice. Look at all these new leaves that are coming out. Leaves after leaves. So this is going to get even bushier than before. And this is how you get a bushy plant. You want to propagate the mother plant. And then you also end up having a lot of babies. Let's check on the babies. Here's a baby plant. This one is the leaf is turned yellow, which is not good, but it's probably still alive. It's buried maybe a little bit too deep. Let me take it out just a little bit out of the soil. Yeah, cutting should not be so deep in the potting mix. And then this one's put out a new leaf. But other than that, this looks pretty much good. This looks alive. And then there's another one in here. I'm sure this one is the happiest of the bunch. And let me pull it out. Look at all these crazy roots. Look at all these crazy roots. So I guess prop boxes are really good for plants, for roots, for root development. But I'm not sure if they're really good for, look, this one's grown out of the pot even, but it's put out roots in midair. But I don't think this is a good condition for them to grow, you know, those big leaves, because it's not getting bright light. You won't get the silver foliage if you keep them in here for too long. So I may actually start, what do you call this? Organizing this. I'm gonna start potting this up properly in a pot. And this is maybe too many cuttings in one pot. So I may do that now, and then yeah, let them and keep thriving. But they do root faster, I guess, in a propagation box. And as a quick care tip, I keep this lightly moist, so there's only a bit of condensation here. And every day I would open it up like a little bit, and I would use this little fan over here. I would just fan it in for about, you know, a few seconds, and I'll just close it back. Just give it some air. And I'm actually a little bit worried that if I take this out suddenly and let it live outdoors, it may not be so happy because it's used to such pristine conditions in the propagation box. But Scindapsus, especially thick-leafed ones like these, are actually quite strong, and I believe they're adaptive, so that wouldn't be a problem. But if you were rehabbing, let's say, a velvety-leafed anthurium, you may want to keep that in a box and slowly, over time, open the box more and more to let it acclimatize to the outside air. But for this Scindapsus, it's gonna do fine. Just coming out of the box. Ooh, and I forgot to show the growth. There's some growths here with the leaves. This is putting out a new leaf. This is a new leaf. So in 6 months, I would say this is considered really fast because Scindapsus are normally quite slow growers. I believe this is from a wet stick too, because this is like the first leaf that came out of there. So this was a wet stick leaf. My goodness. That's amazing. Yeah. This one's putting out a new leaf, but from the inside, you see that little nub there? There's gonna be a vine coming out. So yeah, I'm gonna pot this up some more. It's very messy in this table. And here is the silvery Ann mother plant. This must be getting lower light because we're losing some of the silver splash on these. They really respond to light. So they used to live over there in the middle. So I may have to move it back soon because this is not getting optimal light here, I guess. But it is doing all right. It's putting out leaves after leaves after leaves. Cute. Let's check on the babies. Here are the babies. They are living under grow light, but also some natural light. This is from Tujuan Bumi. I have a video on the channel about his grow light and his anthurium collection. Feel free to check it out. So yeah, this baby is doing fine. He's putting out lots of new leaves in just 6 weeks time. Look at all this roots, stem. I didn't really notice any diebacks, although hang on, let me show you. This one leaf is not doing well. This is an old leaf. And hang on, let me check for pests. No, it's fine, it's clean. It's just an old leaf that's just tired. But it's putting out leaf after leaf. How cute is that? Actually, the silvery ant seems to be a pretty fast grower compared to the other Scindapsus in my collection. And in here, voila, there's some more. These are the ones in prop box in higher humidity. There are some growths here, and I haven't noticed that they're substantially more than the ones that were grown outside here. This is getting much better light, by the way. This is getting very low light, but it's getting very high humidity. It used to live under there, under that corner. So it's a medium light, and you see the variegation is lost. The silver is completely gone. They do need light to push out this beautiful spot. So I'm gonna leave this out of the box for now. I don't think there's any point, besides the box is getting quite full these days with a lot of urgent care plants. So Scindapsus, I don't recommend to put them in a prop box. Give them the best light possible if you live in the tropics. Of course, if you live in 30% humidity environment, you may want to have them in a prop box, but in my case, they're much better off outside actually. Here is the update of the tricolor. It's putting out roots like crazy, like there's no tomorrow. Look at all these cute roots. I don't even know what to do with them. But yeah, I believe this is the mother plant, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, because I think so. We made cuts from here. I'm not really good with my memory. It's fading away from me. But yeah, it's doing okay inside, I think. I'm trying to find where the cuttings are. Ah, there you go. So I remember I actually put them in an eggshell carton before, but my gardener overwatered it and they were just drowning in it. So I have a picture. I'm gonna put the image on the side in this video. And so I asked him to help transfer these into this massive pot together. So these were all single cuttings, single cuttings that we had. They were just stuck lightly into soil, and they've done just fine. They've grown really well, and they're actually very sparkly. Do you see the sparkle? I haven't seen the tricolor. Maybe some of these older leaves have the tricolor, but the newer leaves hasn't exhibited any of the light green color on them. Like this is the parent plant here. You can see the light green, the dark green, and the silver. That's why they call it a tricolor. So I may give this a bit more time. And this is doing well here. It's getting really there's a bit of artificial light here, but they're also getting a little bit of natural light. Vroom, watch them go by. Here is a 5 weeks update, and I just wanted to quickly show off my Scindapsus area. This is the Scindapsus SP Sumatra, and I keep propagating it. This is why it's so bushy now, and it's tubii as well. So I used to get them as a single vine, and I propagated many of these. So yeah, you can actually let Scindapsus climb up like this. This is the silver splash. It started out like this, and then because it got lower light, it lost its silver. And yeah, this is how they like to grow in nature. This is their preferred growth pattern. But of course, sometimes for us, we do want to grow them trailing and bushy like this. So it's really up to you how you want to grow this, but today's video is aimed at growing them to be this way. So let me show you what the plants look like now. All right, let's go with this silver lady. And this is the mother plant. Look at how much bushier, and look at all this glorious silver foliage. I'm in love. And this vine, I think this is new because we did cut off a lot of the vines earlier. Look at this. It's grown so much, and it's definitely bushed out quite a lot. So again, this is probably about 2.5 months. This is one of the propagation. This is another one. Let's put out little leaves. Probably with the first leaf, with the second coming along the way. Beautiful. These are so easy. And some of them were grown indoors, some of them were grown outdoors, and I did move some outdoors from our last update. I think some of these were in propagation box. I can't remember which ones. But again, Scindapsus are very, very easy to propagate, and they look so beautiful. Even imagine them as like a landscape foliage, like that. And they were clamber all over the place. They were absolutely root, like all these vines. If you let them creep along the ground, they will root into your landscaping grounds, and they will take over. And in my previous video, I'm gonna link that up above, I show you how the Scindapsus has taken over a whole landscaped area, which is beautiful. And this is the tricolor. And unfortunately, this is the parent plant, only put out a little vine here with only 2 leaves. I keep getting mesmerized by how beautiful this is. And then it started putting out runners. Boo. But yeah, so the parent plant hasn't really taken off as much as I would like to. I don't know why. It's probably overwatered. If you look at the tips here, this is a little bit of overwatering, or maybe bacteria when you have this happen to you. So yeah, I may have to really keep an eye out for this, but I'm not that worried. Because look at this. This is the baby. This is the baby. And let me check on the foliage. Yeah, I think the lime green is back in here in the new leaves, because I was a little bit worried before of losing them. They're beautiful, beautiful leaves. And when you let them shingle, they tend to get rounder in shape. And this one here, I saw this earlier, but there seemed to be a little bit of a bacterial infection. I don't know if you see the little spots there. Check for pests. No pests here. But yeah, this should take off really well. And like, yeah, all these little cute little vines, I had to pin them back into the pot, I think, so that they can bush out even more. Can't get over this. This is so beautiful. All right, last but not least, this is the silvery Ann. And just by the way, the silvery Ann here in Indonesia was expensive about a year ago, and there was only a few people that had it. But I suspect this is not the silvery Ann. I don't know. If I look at silvery Ann in the US or in the Europe, they're much more silver, and the silver is very, very random. But for these guys, the silver is only congregated at the tip of the leaves. So I don't know if this is the actual silvery Ann. And if it's in fact not a silvery Ann, that means that we don't have the real silvery Ann in Indonesia yet, because I haven't seen that around. So these are the babies here, and these guys, I remember they were grown in the prop box, and then they were getting darker leaves. So I took them out, I had them live out here. Look at all these roots. They had a lot of roots before, don't get me wrong, because they were in the prop box. But they're doing well. Look at the foliage is a little bit green, it's dark green, but it doesn't have a lot of silver because it was in a low light area. Conversely, these guys were living under grow light, and I think they are actually a little bit burned. They're way more silver than the one we saw before. But when the leaf gets yellow or light green like this, it's usually a sign of too much light, because the plant is producing less chlorophyll to adapt to the high light situation. So yeah, look at this. This is very silver, but again, this is too yellow. So I need to pull this back, and I probably will grow these together because I want to start, what do you call this? Organizing my plant area. It's too messy. I have like plants here and there everywhere. So these are gonna live together in bright indirect light. So yeah, I hope that this will start putting out normal green leaves. Ooh, sorry, so this is still much later, but I need to interrupt. But as you can see here, this is the silvery Ann, and the one that were grown in a propagation box actually put out more roots, as we saw in the update earlier, but it put out less leaves. But the one that was grown in too much light, it actually put out way more leaves. And although the leaves are a little bit light green in color, which we don't really like, but yeah, so balance it out between these two to get the right condition. For me, it's definitely outdoors in bright indirect light, not in a prop box, so they can put out nice green leaves quickly. And this is the parent plant. How beautiful. It's done really well, actually. It's put out a vine here, and this vine was potted into something else. But yeah, I should actually circle this back in and let it loop around this pot, and maybe even consider giving it a bigger pot, because it's been living in here for quite a while. I'm sure the root system in there is pretty crazy. But yeah, this is getting bushy. Look at it. This is so nice for a tabletop, no? For like a dining table situation. This leaf flopped over. Get in line, get in line. All right. You know what I mean. So yeah, this makes a really good table decoration, although they can clamor and they can take over really fast. But you can also hang them. There's so many ways you can grow Scindapsus, you guys. They are such beautiful, beautiful plants, and as you can see here, they're very easy to care for, easy to propagate, and they're so nice to share with people. I hope that you guys are growing well. I'm at Botanist on Instagram. If you want to DM me on any questions regarding plant care and propagations, I'll try my best to get back to you. Meanwhile, do take care and stay safe. I will see you in the next one. Bye!